rational way of developing buildings. So the budget was important, the sequence how you build, and the quality of interior environment on health and well-being. Well, actually didn't look at it. The situation is now like this, that we built a building very efficiently with a great look, but hardly any feel. So people have to adjust to their built environment instead of we build buildings that are adjusting to the people needs. And so what COVID is learning us that our immune system is actually very low. So what we need to do is go back to the source and start to start to design buildings that is more in harmony with our human nature. Start designing buildings that is more in harmony with our environment. Start to design buildings that's more in harmony on what the the natural influences are, and adjusted to the climate where we live. When you look at modern buildings nowadays, whether it is placed in Singapore or in Rio de Janeiro, it has the same architecture. It doesn't any to do with local climate anymore. Also the material used. Hardly any natural material are used anymore. It's glass, it's steel, it must be smooth, it must be a lot of concrete, and we only use the natural finishings like wood, bamboo, or in fabrics that are mixed with a lot of chemicals. So yes, COVID is learning us that we are forced to go inside, so we long to go outside. Now we appreciate nature more. And now what you see is people are bringing more plants into the house because we don't have any um, green environment anymore. People are bringing in water features into the room, so they have a certain contact with nature again. So yes, we are in a quantum shift now, and this transformation period, we must really rethink of how we build our environment.
Yes, I think I would like to touch upon what Anil mentioned about the materials. Actually, materials are so important, touching feeling as well. But also now, okay, pertaining to living spaces mainly. Now we realize that our homes have become almost a microcosm of a city. Like it's a theater, it's an office, it's art gallery, school, playground, all in one. And of course, the intention is, yes, to feel that you're outside, but still with the whole pandemic and the rise of these dangerous airborne diseases, or things that are with fluid exchange or anything, we also need to protect. Of course, we can open our environments to be one with nature, but I think there's a balance that we need to protect our external facades to be, use different materials that are antimicrobial, or even create like a fort or whatever, but interior, like create a lot of, greenery or courtyards or spatial spaces that you still have a feeling of being one with nature, but you still also have to adapt your facades or adapt your filtration, glass air filtration, to really have that indoor air quality, which is not, generating any unwanted microbes or things like that. So materials are so important and can be used in so many different ways to enhance your spaces inside, to make it more earthy, but also not forgetting to really not, keep it very, what do you say, COVID proof, or, infection proof, I would say.
Yes. Very good, Priya. I think it's a good angle to look at it. But on the other
Anile,
side,
we're not
yes,
hearing you well, so
again. wait. Oh,
Yes.
something is going on. Automatically, he goes on mute. My telephone. So
I will explain to you, because then like now you can hear me twice because
Yes.
you're. So then when I'm on mute you because we have an echo on it.
Okay, okay, I got you. Okay. So yes, what I want to react on Priya. Very good that we have to have a like a protective shield in our indoor environment. But on the other hand, when your protective shield into the house is too much protective, then your immune system will not be able to adapt. So in a way, you have to strengthen your immune system so it can fight any disease or any bacteria. And in our effort to overprotect ourselves, our immune system hardly get anything to do. So then when you have a little bit of a dust of a little of a virus, it immediately is in big stress. So actually what you have to do is look at nature. People who are very much living outdoors, outside, they have a very well developed protection system. Their immune system is very high because it's like the street dog. You know, the street dog has a much better immune system than the house dog because the house dog get all kind of medicine, all kind of processed food. It doesn't eat any natural food anymore. So we humans, in a way, are like the house dogs. We are maybe too much protective, and that's why our immune system doesn't work so optimal anymore. So yes, Priya, we need to protect ourselves in our home environment, but on the other hand, the home environment must also activate your immune system, must vitalize your system so your body energy is always on the top level. Because what happens nowadays in my modern environment, it is so say aggressive. The place we sleep, with all the electricity, the 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 humidity or too dry air, that our immune system is constantly on alert phase. It can hardly rest anymore, and that's why it's draining your personal energy. And you can see that in sick buildings. People living in sick buildings, especially working in sick buildings, when there's no coffee in the morning, they cannot function. After the lunch, they get such a big afternoon dip. If they don't have a Red Bull or a Snickers or a Mars or something with sugar, they cannot function. So it is, yes, a protective environment, but also our living quality, our living, how do we live, our lifestyle, what do we eat? So the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we consume, and the environmental and the environment we live is all influencing our great protective system, our immune system. So, and in a way, we forgot about these things because in some countries, I mean, I think you also can recognize in Singapore, right? It's very hot sometimes. So people run from airco to airco. You sit in an air conditioned car, you run to your air conditioned office, you come home, the first thing you do is you, you turn on the airco. So, and what does an airco do? It just is refrigerating and recycling the inner air. There's hardly, the new air conditioning are taking air from outside and uh, uh, cool it down. But I also see it in many tropical countries. We hardly go out anymore. So the moment we are out and we are attacked by all kind of viruses and bacteria, we get sick, bomb. So it's a balance. The environment, yes, but the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we consume, and of course, the exercises you do. Do you maintain your body well? Those are very important things. I think that together with the architecture is heading into the future to look at it.
Yeah, what I
Yeah, you wanted to react?
Yes. So maybe because you spoke about Singapore, I think I will say that because I'm based here. I will just share my thoughts. So I think Singapore is a very good example, even though it's very hot. but we are a garden city, and we stay true to that in terms of design. So we have a lot of tree cover that creates a lot of these microclimates that you don't really feel, when you exit your house. You don't, of course, there is the humidity rise and things like that, but I don't think it's as bad as quite a few countries. It is a tropical country, but we are trying our best to definitely create microclimates even within your own, high-rise condos, or like any other public spaces. There's always like tiered greenery, green walls, green roofs. So you always are, and that's actually part of the regulations of the country, where you do have to follow certain levels of connect with nature, temperature control for various environments. So all your transition zones, when you get out from your, traveling from your house to your, even to the neighborhood park or anything, are quite comfortable, I would say, because of, a generous tree cover. The freeways are filled with greenery as well. And definitely they provide shading too. So on an urban design level, it's definitely well thought of. And, and the city is also planned such that it promotes a lot of cycling and walking and pedestrian activities. So there's a lot of physical activity, but still comfortable. It's not too bad. But of course, I think it's very important to build with nature, even in a high urbanized environment. So it is very subtly, of course, it's visually nice as well, but it also affects us, emotionally, socially, and at a very deep level. It brings soul to a building, it brings soul to a city, it's not just you have a facade, which is a breathing, living wall with greenery, but if you really think about the entire ecosystem and your well-being and everything, it's a difference between a living wall or actually a wall being alive, I would say. So I think thoughtful design is very important and should be applied to all aspects of our life, especially architecture, because it informs everything we do. Yeah.
Yes, you're totally right, Priya. I mean, maybe I mentioned only Singapore because of the humidity, but you're right. If one of the greatest cities and one of my favorite cities is Singapore, it's very green, harmonious, and the government of Singapore also uses feng shui masters to check their buildings and to involve them in the planning. So you're completely right. If there's one example in the world that is my favorite in health and well-being buildings, then indeed it is Singapore.
I'm actually very curious, Roy, what is your take on it as an holistic art and has traveled all around the world?
1 second. Okay. Yeah. So far I only hear good stuff that I need to add to that. But what I want to emphasize is that on one side we have like toxic materials, which are used really a lot here. But we also often, by using metals in concrete, we're creating cages of Faraday, and which would isolate our bodies from the electromagnetic force field from the earth, which is very healing, especially when we're sleeping at night. Then we jump into a car, which is not a cage of Faraday, and then we go to the office, which is not a cage of Faraday. So that means that we get a lot isolated from that. I once wrote a book. It was called Vitamin M. It was about the magnetic force field, and I can say a lot of people suffer from vitamin M deficiencies because we're not enough in nature, we're not grounded enough, and all of that. So that's one thing. And the other thing I want to touch upon is also colors. You see, some people put horrible colors in their homes, and some people put nice colors in their homes. But does the colors match your energies? That's another point as well. We understand feng shui, energy needs to flow, but colors are very, very important as well in the whole thing. And if we look at the body, we can divide the body in basically 3 levels. One would be the cellular level, then we have the biochemical level, and then we have the electromagnetic level. And the electromagnetic level is the most important level because that's the foundation of everything. So on one side, we have the Chinese discoveries of the meridians, which is more electrical in nature. And the other side, we have from India, the chakras, which are more frequency based in nature. So when the environment is not right, we're throwing off our electromagnetic nature. And that is so subtle that there's not a direct cause effect. So people come with diseases to a doctor, and if you go to Western doctor, they work on biochemical level and on histological level, but they don't work on the electromagnetic level. And also the electromagnetic level is influenced, of course, by lifestyle, but also our way of thinking, or stress levels, how we deal with, let's say, in our relationships, and all of those things. So I think the adding that, and of course, Feng Shui covers some of that, but we have so many toxic buildings. Then we have another phenomena that what is called geopathic stress. So if you put a building on the wrong spot, you can put the best materials of the world, you can do everything you want, but you're in a bad spot. And what's very interesting to know for people is that dogs always go to the good spot, but cats go to the bad spot, right? So that's why if you see a dog is in a corner always, that's a good corner. Where the cat go, avoid those corners. So, and you can see how that also in nature, how animals do that. And cats can transform negative polarities. Dogs cannot, right? So these are just a couple of things I would add to the whole picture, which so far I said, wow, this is really good stuff. You guys are really know what you're doing. So that would be my little add-on to this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anine, I know you have a lot of knowledge when it comes to Feng Shui. So maybe you can add something more about it.
Oh yes, I totally agree with Roy that the colors are very important. Apart from the chi flow, how the energy flows inside a building. Furthermore, it's very important that we take into consideration the position of the sun. Daylight, sunlight is very healing, very important to have it in buildings. Nowadays, we have some developments that some lamps can produce, they can copy the sunlight. But according to the Feng Shui and the Feng Shui school I'm coming from, it is taking the landscape Feng Shui more important. So the environmental shape, how the outside energy of the nature is flowing around the building, and how you can catch it and drag it inside and keep it inside in a very positive flow. So the Feng Shui is important. The building biology, as also Priya mentioned, the healthy materials, natural materials, no toxic components. But also, as Roy mentioned, the electromagnetic radiation is very important. And of course, the place you sleep, because that is the place your body rejuvenate, right? So when your body cannot rejuvenate, it cannot heal. And what you often see is people have a certain sickness, they go to the hospital, get treated, and where do they sleep again? The same old place that is creating this sickness. So especially cancer patients, when they have some treatments, what we have learned from our Feng Shui master, he said, the moment you have an illness, change your sleeping position. Go sleep in another bed, in another bedroom. And it's true. And it has to do with the negative radiation, not only from the building material and the electromagnetic force, but also what Roy mentioned is the geomantic stress points of Mother Earth. You can have water lines under your bed. You can have fault lines under your bed. You can have all kind of electromagnetic ley lines running across your bed. But also the historical use of the land. You can imagine that when a piece of land was used as a graveyard, the left turning energy is much more stronger. And indeed, Roy, you will have cats love to sleep there on the negative spot, but the dog would never sit there. But when you have a house built on a spot where there was a church or a monastery or another healing place, then your body will automatically get a rejuvenating energy from Mother Earth. And this frequency, this healing frequency, is very well known. The blue spots on our Earth are very known for the healing frequency. Lourdes has a healing frequency. And that is something we don't take into consideration when we design cities or we build a house. Also the soil, the quality of the soil. When you build land in a reclaimed land, when you build a house in a reclaimed land where there's a lot of water running under the land, is very aggressive. When you build a house on sandy land or rocky land, it's much better. So these things are they were very well known in the past. I mean, the shaman, they knew about it, you know. In the Vastu Shastra also, they always have these things that you dig a hole, you pour some water, when the water is drained, it has good quality land. When the water is still there, it doesn't go away, not so good land. So the old masters, they knew about this. But during our education, we trust on the technique too much and we go on using a lot of piles to make the good foundation. Especially in the Netherlands where I live, you see that they know how to work with the land. They just make a dike, pump out the water, and they build whole communities on former lakes. And when you go and you stand there, you close your eyes, your whole body is still moving because of the water energy is still active. So how can you ground yourself there? So, Roy, can you say something about that?
Now you start asking me the difficult questions. So when we talk about energy, and we're now talking also about the water element, and we have fire element, all those kind of things. There's a consciousness. So where I come from the Caribbean, when you move into a house where people used to live before, it's very important that it's cleansed, that it's clean, it's being, you know, they use white sage and prayer, and even the priest comes with holy water and all those kind of stuff. So, and as you said, before they knew all this stuff, now we're getting arrogant and we believe that we know everything. Well, on the energetic part, we do not know. So when we have, like what you're saying, places like where what was before, there are ways we can balance that. So one of the things that we have found that we can sometimes balance it with sea salt, sometimes with copper things. So, but it's a very precise thing where you need to measure where to put it and to make it a grounding place. Because if you're not grounded, you know, as you said, you have basically lose your life force. And one of the most important things is that what people also need to take into consideration is and we already spoke about it, how important the places that we sleep is, that we need to pay attention there to the electrical stuff we have there. So if we have, for example, the phone still on Wi-Fi, those kind of things. So what is a good custom is when you go to sleep is turn off the Wi-Fi. So at least you don't have that kind of energy anymore, because that is very, very disturbing. Then we also have the other phenomena in this phenomenon of blue light, like computers, phones. And so people who are already feeble and not very well grounded, and we have a category of people nowadays that are labeled hypersensitive. Those people, the way I see it, have very high frequencies. So they have difficulties in grounding. And because they have difficulties in grounding, they're picking up emotions easily from others. And they cannot even distinguish anymore what is their emotion, what's another person's emotion. So they need a lot of grounding. And it is very important when we go to sleep. Number one, we need to do a preparation. It needs to be, you know, slowly going down in energy. Like you can read a book is very good, but do not read a digital book, because that's the blue light. again, which will disturb, and that's very key, the pineal gland. And the pineal gland not only has the balance of day and night, but the pineal gland is also a connection to what we call the higher frequencies. I call it now, just not to have an association, the quantum field of information, but in spiritual group, it is your intuition field. It's the field of knowledge. And nowadays, the pineal gland has been bombarded with heavy metals, with chemicals, with other frequencies. So going back to the water thing, and when we don't have that grounding, that is disastrous. And we get these mysterious diseases and fatigue, tired for no reason, easily stressed. People become even more sensitive to, let's say, the planetary constellations. Like just now we have the full moon thing going on. And this last one was a tough one. And then a lot of people will have conflicts in relationships. Relationships will now burst. If there's hidden emotions that have been suppressed, and when we're not grounded, these things come out, especially when the planetary constellation is changing. So if you put everything together, because it's a big puzzle, right? So you, like you said, okay, we have the water, where we build on the water, then we have the material, then we have the lifestyle, then we have your mindset, then we have all those things. Makes it complex, but we need to start with little steps. We need to start looking at, okay, if I look at the whole puzzle, where is the first thing I can improve? You know, and I would recommend everyone to hire a feng shui consultant to just start looking, because sometimes it's not complicated. So for example, in our house, we were, we saw a relationship corner was not really good. So we immediately shift that, and you immediately notice a shift in relationship. Then there's a money place, then there's the door where you come in, then is are you facing the window or not? I mean, there's so many little things that people have no clue about. So we really need the proper education, because these, even though it are small things, but together, it's an attack on our electromagnetic system, and that will affect our health, affect our mental state, emotional state. And what do we see nowadays also with COVID? How many people got depressed? How many people got suicidal? How many people now are escaping into alcohol? And how many relationships just burst because now you're on top of each other in a small environment, and the constant threat, the bombardment of information on the social media is, I mean, it's the first time I've seen it as intense. Now we look at the children. So one of the things that we know, when we pay attention to children, when children get hyperactive, when children are really agitated, there's something wrong in the electromagnetic force field, and we need to pay attention. We need to do that. So I always check with the children, are they calm or are they like super hyper, which of course could be also nutrition. They can be on loads of sugar and all those kind of things.
Yes.
But children are a good measurement for the environment, to really look at them. Do they sleep well? Do they, those kind of things, and take that into account. And I think every family who will hear this may notice how many things you need to improve. You might go like, oh my God, where do I begin? But again, simple steps, right? Very simple steps, and build up on your successes until you have house. And when you do it right, people come into your home, they notice the energy is different. They say, oh, it's so peaceful here. Wow. And we have people who just want to come back over and over because they are attracted by positive energy. So that's a very important thing as well to notice. And then you want to find in your house places where you can recover. We have the bedroom, but you also want a place where you can meditate. And when you meditate in the same place over and over, you're also creating a bubble of energy there. Just like in the church. When you go to a church, you feel the energy is different. But you can create the same thing in your house. It's not that complicated. If you have a place, if your bedroom is right and you have another place to recover, you're going to be fine. Okay, those are the two main tips I want to give back to everyone.
What I would like to add to that is that I hear myself 2 times. Now fine? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I would like to add to that is that I think that what we forgot, especially for schools and for education, is that what Roy was telling about this pineal gland, that you really have to empower children in imagination, and that actually the whole school should be built around empowering children in imagination. And we just build prisons. They look like prisons often, schools. And but because we were brought up in such a system, we think it's normal when you learn you have to be like in a prison-like system. But if you would create already paradise in school, then what happens is that children, when they grow older, they will just create more of that paradise. So the more we invest and the more we create this imagination context for schools, the more we will see that also our buildings will change, and that how we organize ourselves will change, because that will just become naturally. Because for children, when it's normal to live in paradise, whatever you then define as paradise, that can have various definitions, but often it's not the definition of current school buildings. If you ask most children, that's not their definition of paradise. But if you really emphasize on that, and like you say, like take into account all these aspects which you have been talking about in this quantum power talk, then what you create is such an opportunity for the future. And I think it's important that we, like very young age, we give all this knowledge already to young humans here on Earth, to learn, to feel and work with the energy, but also to see how you create beauty, how you learn to work with the colors, with ecological. So I think that's very important. And of course, the more we nourish ourselves and the more we create even working places, why should working not be joy? And the most joyful activity on the day, on the most beautiful place you can ever imagine, that would be so great. But we often, we think that working is hard work, and it has to be in a certain structure, and we have an idea about that structure because we had it in the classroom. It was the same like a classroom. We just then put a kind of new classroom for the schools. You have a little bit more of luxury, and you have a coffee machine. The children didn't have a coffee machine, but okay. But you see how we just take all those ideas just to our adult life. But it doesn't have to be like that. In the past, there were not even offices. So of course, now we need environment, but
Totally agree. I would like to comment on this one. Briony, can you hear me? Yes?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, what we forgot in our society is to play again. We have, in a way, abandoned joy and playfulness in our adult life. And also, you're completely right. The schools nowadays are not playgrounds for children. They are structured prisons where you have to learn according to a certain curriculum. But children learn the best playing. And when you have a playful environment, then they learn quicker. Look at the game industry, learning by gaming, And in our adult life, it's also not done when you play. You know where we play? When we go to to Disney or to another park. We call it in Dutch pretpark, where you can have fun parks. So we forgot how to have fun in life, in daily life. Actually, our whole life is fun, and in between you have to work. But in the Western world, you are, how would I say, just like circus animals. You are structured in such a way that you are raised to work. And that's why on Friday, everybody's happy because then they're free. They can do something what they like. And that's why everybody is so happy when they can go on holidays. Look now what COVID has done. Everybody's looking, when can I go on holidays? That is their reward. I think it's bullshit. You have to be on a holiday the whole year around,
Every
and
day.
in between you must work, right? Then there's fun. Thus we have to change that. And I think when you have a joyful, playful living environment, you can have the best food, and not like here in Holland. Our food is a sandwich bread. And you know how we lunch? Walking. We don't take the time to sit and to enjoy ourselves like they do in Southern Europe and like you do in Singapore, Priya, like we do in the tropical lands. We take our time to sit and to enjoy our food. Now we've developed fast food. Had hardly any taste. The food must go fast into your mouth so we can work longer. Sorry, BS, bullshit. You have to take time to eat. Enjoy yourself. You feed your body. Your immune system is growing. You have a great health. All the welfare sickness, Roy, you must agree on that one. When fast food companies move in the country, the health care goes up. When fast food countries go, watch India. India is developing now. Fast food chains are coming in. So the health will go down, healthcare will come up. So you have to rethink our society. What is important in life? Having a great life, of course, you must get knowledge. Otherwise, you cannot function anymore without knowledge. But don't forget to be playful. Don't forget to have fun. And so the building environment must invite you to also be playful and have fun. And you are then more effective. And I think then when you work 5 to 6 hours a day, you're as effective as working 8 hours a day.
Yeah,
really, really nice. I also want to actually ask a question. It's, let's say, to the architect. When you look at schools, also one of the things that COVID has shown us is that the schools are not, let's say, ready or actually built for good healthcare. And I hear that schools, sometimes kids have to sit to an open window and they are freezing, especially here in the Netherlands, they're freezing. And then they get a cold and then they have to go do a COVID test because do they have the flu or do they have COVID? So it creates a lot of problems. So I was wondering also, let's say for the architect, how can we make also our schools much more healthy? So the kids don't have to be sitting to an open window with 2 sweaters on and maybe even a scarf to keep a little bit warm. And I'm actually very curious about Priya because you are from Singapore. So how do they do that?
So in Singapore, of course, we don't have as much cold.
Because we can't hear you.
Okay, I haven't changed anything. Can you hear me now? Or oops. Can you hear me now?
No, if you press the button on the right, then we can
hear you yet.
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm back on now. Is it okay?
You're muted. I see that you're muted.
Oh. On Clubhouse or on
your phone.
Okay.
So on the right corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
Good.
I'm back. Sorry, it's my first time on Clubhouse learning. I'm getting there. Yes. So, okay. Yeah, I would say definitely schools are very important. And of course, it's a younger generation. They are the future. We need to protect them. We need to educate them. And we need to definitely care about their environments, especially from a design point of view. And of course, everything needs to be a balance. Like, we always say that, oh yeah, so much natural light abundance of natural light is good, or, we need to have really large windows. But I think everything should be, you need to catch the daylight, but not the sunlight. You need to catch thermal comfort should be, don't catch the really cold air, but catch infiltrated, comfortable. Your indoor air quality and everything is very important. The way we design, even our fenestration, or even our, the way we glaze our buildings, double glazing, or depending on each environment. So one is definitely that. And of course, like Anil mentioned earlier, you can't overdo it because you still need children to have that immunity. And, so one way I would also say that I think we need to encourage a lot of physical activity into the mundane activities that are happening in school. Even going from, we can do by design interventions, different solutions, even a mundane activity by just entering your classroom from the car. You could just have it, I don't know, it could be on a different level, doesn't even have to be on the ground, but how about a climbing wall to go up, or coming down with a slide or something, just to enhance your brain. So you're ready to focus a little more. So you have a higher productivity because of that little exercise that you do, but it's a design intervention. So your design informs your usage of the space. So that promotion of physical activity would enhance, their immune system and even their playful interaction. You have like chance encounters while you're doing all these. You get, social interaction between children, and then they're ready and excited for the day. And of course, have shorter classes, not really long classes, shorter but effective, highly productive. Of course, colors are very important. That's why we get very technical with, we even take the color wheel and we see, one wheel and one color and then the opposite one to harmonize that for the next wall. So when you enter a space, it's already like balance, so you'll kind of have a little bit of, it depends on what the use of the space is. If it's something that requires a lot of stimulation, obviously it's a different color. If it requires a little more, focus and calmness, but of course we need to play with that. So spaces become flexible for different times of day. But yeah, and I definitely agree to, slowing down the pace of life, whether it's adults or, children or anything. It's not about how much work you do. It's not the quantity, but of course the quality, like, you can get a lot done, of course, 4 hours a day. And the rest of the day, you're doing a lot of other things that help you the next day as well to, focus just those 4 hours. I had one question on, blue light, when you were talking about blue light. From what I think this is a question to Roy as well as Anil or anyone. When we design for, like daylight and sunlight and all those kind of things, when I learn about, circadian rhythms and my research and study on those kind of things, I've always researched or learned that blue light actually resets your circadian rhythm, like it improves your sleep. But what I get from Roy and Anil is that it kind of makes you a little more like if you were watching your blue light on the phone and things like that. So is there a specific spectrum of blue light we're talking about, or is it a type of blue light? Because I know it reduces the melatonin in your body and improves your sleep and, sets your circadian rhythm right. Because I think most of us need it these days, are the way our lifestyles go, or the amount of usage on our digital devices. But is that a contradiction, or is that, how do we apply it as a design intervention? Because even in our offices, we use a lot of blue sculptures or blue and, I don't know, just paint, because that enhances productivity. So could you just throw some light on that?
I will start throwing some blue light on you.
Difficult questions coming at you.
So what you need to understand is this, that it is the timing. You see, okay, so when we have blue light in the night before we go to sleep, we interfere. So normally when you work with blue light, it's during the daylight. Do you understand the difference? So if before we go to bed, and especially artificial blue, this is not the color on the wall, it is the emitting of the electronic instrument, which is a different frequency than the blue color that we're using. And that's a disturbing frequency for the pineal gland. And we are much more sensitive to that when, normally the pineal gland should produce more melatonin to go to sleep. So during the day, we don't produce the melatonin. We're fine. You see? So the blue light does not interfere with our circadian rhythms during the day. It is when the evening comes, we should be, and we are preparing to go to bed. And now we get the blue light from the computers, from the phones, from our digital books and all of that. That interferes with the pineal gland. And so that's the difference. So what you're doing is fine, nothing wrong with that. So if we talk about the color blue and we talk about the, let's say, emission from an electronic thing, are two different things. And one interferes with the pineal gland, the other one, especially in daylight, doesn't. And you need to understand also what we see as blue is not blue. Okay, it's our interpretation of blue. So when you use color blue, that's fine. But when we are working with a computer, it's a different type of blue light. And that's very interfering during the night when we're praying to go to sleep. And so does that answer your question? Does that give you...
yes, it's not the hues from the light, it's the
exactly.
actual frequency.
Exactly. And the other thing, what Aniel was saying, and I had to laugh a little bit, is, you know, I coined the term seriositas. We are becoming too serious in life. Most people die from seriousness, you know, because they don't laugh enough.
Yes.
And so if we look at the phenomena of laughing, phenomenon of laughing is quite interesting because we make this ha, ha, ha sound, right? Which activates the thymus gland. And the thymus gland is where the body makes what's called T killer cells. And T killer cells are the cells that attack viruses, are the cells that attack cancer cells. So we need to live by the rule, a day not laughed is a day wasted. So that's one thing we need to understand. So we need to create more fun in our life. I totally agree with that. And the other thing I want to pick up on was many, many years ago, I think it was almost 35 years ago, I was going to Japan and I was sitting next to a what do you call that, thorax surgeon, someone who operates in the chest, the heart, and so on. And he was going to Japan to teach them how to do that because Japan didn't know heart disease. Until they start introducing Western food, they start getting other problems, right? And the same phenomenon I've seen in China in a different way is that the Chinese children who now, you know, McDonald's sounds in Chinese the same as in America. They all go McDonald's, McDonald's, McDonald's. And so what we're seeing there is that the little children are becoming more obese. The parents, not so much. China is not an obese country, but we're seeing a lot of obese children because what happens in China is that the parents want to please the children. They normally have one child, right? So the child is the king or the queen of the house. Whatever they want, they get. So if they want McDonald's, they get McDonald's. They want Kentucky, they get Kentucky. So, and we see now a lot of problems arising in the younger people in Asian countries because of these things. And it's so interesting that young kids, before they can even write and understand language, they already can see McDonald's. They know McDonald's sign. Wherever you put the McDonald's sign, they can read it, okay? Yes. And then what they do with McDonald's, you see, they make these toys. So they understand they have these places to play. Children go to McDonald's because there's a playground there. So it's so clever marketing, how they really create this addiction at a young age already with the logo, with the bombardment and the stuff. And what Briony was saying is also quite interesting is that if the school is attractive for children and the energy is good, they love to go to school. Yeah. But there's one element that is very, very important in school, and that's the passion and enthusiasm of the teachers. So you see, nowadays we have a lot of teachers, they're bored. And you know, the children are becoming more difficult to deal with. So the teacher just following the curriculum and they're just pumping information. And especially young children, the teacher will determine even what the kid will go study later. So for example, I became very interested in biology and those kind of things because I had a teacher who was so passionate about that subject that you really want to know more about that, right? And the other teachers are boring. Yeah, you just sit in the class and, you know, whatever. So that's another element that I think is very important when we create schools, that we need to train the teachers to be able to pass on the information in a way that is fun. I think we should teach teachers to become like actors, you know, not like robots, right? That they should have fun, play, and make the like let's see on computers, the gamification of everything much more. And the other thing that I want to say about it, that the way we teach is not, let's say, in accordance to the way our brains work. So we're actually slowing the brain down when we start with spelling and those kind of things. It's much better for children to learn words and not spelling, right? And things like that. So there's a lot of stuff yet that we can do for the education. And my rule of thumb is that you're born a genius until you start going to school, and over the years you become less and less. So we have a lot of work to do, not only in the architecture and the colors, but also in changing the whole system and adapting that to the new generation that we're having right now.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that yes, so we can say teachers giving too much stuff. I think it's also just the system, and it's creating systems which allow teachers to also breathe and to also, yeah, have enough time for themselves to be very creative, because they're so in a rat race.
I'm the only one.
Yes.
Yes, now I can hear you again.
Okay. So, so what I wanted to say is that it's also very important for teachers that they get more breathing space for the real person to come out and for the creative source in them to come out. Because we created such a rat race for everybody, and especially also for our teachers and our directors who are in schools. I have been there, and I know very much how it is to be in the middle of the rat race. It's very difficult, and it's also there. It's creating paradise also for teachers. You know, it's no point in pushing them in like further in the rat race, and they should even do more and more methods and more this and more that, and you know, and every government comes with new innovations, and there's even more of that, and you have all to do all the rest, and then even more, you know, you cannot even do what they decided in the past. So it's only more and more and more, and we don't see that what we actually need for everybody is breathing space and just time to relax. And in that time, let the creativity come again, and let's space for children to be, space for teachers to be, without having this fear for punishment, let's say.
Yes. Well, what I would like to add is, apart from that the system had to be changed, is that, and of course, the building must be inviting and playful, and also very inspiring and creativity. We have to look more at the kind of personality a child is. What we see nowadays is that some children have to learn mathematics, but they are not good in mathematics. And what do parents do? They give them extra classes for mathematics. But the child is not good in mathematics. It doesn't have any passion with mathematics, but maybe he's a very good sculptor or a musician. So the quality of a child, where his talents are, that we have to look at that also. So the Montessori system is a very good school system, I think. They look at the quality of the child, and they also learn the children to solve their own problems and to learn from each other in a playful way. So the school system has to change, and I don't understand why a child has to have, especially in basic school, only one teacher. You can have different teachers learning you different stuff, you know? And furthermore, what I miss is a certain way of streetwiseness that you learn on the street but never learn on school. I mean, the best entrepreneurs in life, Sir Richard Branson, never went to school. I mean, so in a way, we have structured our system in such a way, then when it is academical approved, then it is good. You know, when it is not academical approved, it is not true at all. like us healthcare, when a pharmaceutical company had put his brand on it, it is good. Well, an alternative medicine doctor put his stamp on it, it's not good. So we have to change what is good and what's bad. So the best is to have a mix of both. And I think, Roy, you will agree that many studies, especially here in Netherlands, have shown that doctors who practice alternative medicine and Western medicine have the most healthiest patient. So in a way, we have to also rebrand our society, rethink our education system, and also rethink our working system. And so architecture, environmental design, how we design cities, neighborhoods, buildings, it will all come together. And I hope so much that what we have learned from COVID will not be forgotten, and that after 1 year we go back to business as usual, but that we really try to make the change.
So we have
I totally agree. Yeah, we have a lot of work. Let's say, guys, because of the time, I just want to quickly, let's say, review some important stuff, and then I want to open up, let's say, for some questions, if there are any questions. Let's say we do have also, if you want to talk more about entrepreneurship and the quantum shift, check out our website, quantumpowertalk.com, or for the Dutch people, quantumpowertalk.nl. Let's say, so we are talking about, actually we started with that COVID can learn something when it comes to our immune system. Our immune system is not so good. We need to balance more with and getting in alignment more with our human nature, creating better air in our houses and in our offices and in our school, having more natural materials in it, no toxic components, nature materials, looking at the electromagnetic radiation that are surrounding us. The place that you're sleeping in is very important, and also look at the historical background of the ground. Not being grounded enough causes diseases or other symptoms, and schools need to be built to empower imaginations. We are forgetting to play, and schools are no longer playgrounds for children. They are prisons according to certain structures. So your house also needs to be more protective. Your body cannot adapt. So our immune system doesn't work as it should be. So our home environments need to be improved, need to be more balanced. We need to do more with, let's say, the electrical magnetic field, and also with colors. So because colors can influence our own balance, and as adults we need to allow ourselves to play more, because we don't laugh enough, so people die from being too serious. The whole system is built on a rat race. So I would suggest start laughing more. And by this, I want to end off, let's say, the recording part of this